What up guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Eddie Bear and welcome back to yet another episode. So as you've seen in the beginning, today's episode is a bit more action-packed than usual. Traveling as a photographer can be challenging at times, so I've been looking for a vehicle that gets me easily from point A to point B. So with an electric skateboard, it gives me the ability to travel maybe not so prominent areas. I can carry all my gear in my backpack and I'm able to scout quickly locations where normally I would need to get there by foot. So with a skateboard, it gives me more flexibility and it's easy to carry around, and if you want to secure it, you take it with you into a store or into a cafe, shove it under the desk, and you're good to go. You don't need to lock it up or look for a parking space. In my research, I came across a company called Mellow. Mellow is a Germany-based electric skateboard manufacturer, and they are focusing on really good old made in Germany gear. So the guys from Mellow Boards were kind enough to set up some test drives so I could test out their gear thoroughly, and in my opinion, those boards are actually insanely good. Personally, I'm not a big skateboarder. I haven't been on a skateboard for about, 18 years or whatnot. And I only ride a snowboard in the winter, and I pretty much got the hang of it within 20 minutes. Sure, I wasn't going fast and I still won't be going fast since I had a really bad crash at one of the test drives. And trust me, you don't want to leave the board when you're traveling 35 kilometers an hour. So also one of the important messages in this video is make sure to wear protection whenever you're riding an electric skateboard. Those things go fast, especially the high quality ones. So rather be safe than stylish. So their skateboard is something completely different to all the other electric skateboards you have out there. Normally electric skateboards come with a predefined setup, so you get your board, you get your wheels and a remote control, and that's it. You cannot customize any of the setup. With Mellow Boards, it's completely different. You even could go so far and only buy their drive without the board, without the wheels, and you just need to use their rear wheels and you can customize everything else in this setup, except the remote control, of course. The modular design of the Mellow Board is pretty unique, so there are a bunch of things you can choose from. For one being the board itself. You can choose between a longboard and a cruiser board, with the cruiser being the personal transport vehicle, agile and made for urban areas and good pavements, and the longboard being the more chilly, smooth ride for not so good streets and pavements, and you can conquer gravel and grass and maybe even to a certain degree off-road with both boards, depending on what your setup is. So you also have the option to get different kind of wheels. The stock wheels and the first wheels that Mellow actually released were the 80mm wheels. They also started to ship 90mm wheels a few months ago, and the big difference between the 80mm and the 90mm is that the 90mm give you more space if you are on a not so even pavement. So if you're going for a more smoother ride, you will probably end up with the 90mm wheels. And since I rode both decks and both wheels, there is definitely a big difference between the 80mm and the 90mm wheels. Another thing that the Mellow actually makes really unique is the option to swap batteries. With one battery charge, you are able to make something around 11 and 15 kilometers in distance, depending on your weight and your driving style, of course. So if you're always hitting the gas and going full speed, naturally you won't be able to make the 15 kilometers. The cool thing is you just have to pack additional batteries, and since you can swap out the batteries, you don't have to carry around all the weight of a bigger battery. And the biggest advantage with the battery actually is if you take out your battery, you even can fly with your board. That's one of the greatest things about the Mellow Drive. You can take your drive anywhere. If you're a regular watcher of Casey Neistat, you know that he drives all his electric skateboards around the world. but he has always the same problem. He cannot get them through the airport security. With a Mellow Drive, he would not have the problem. And since we are talking about great German engineering, naturally the remote control and all the electronics on the Mellow Drive are actually IP65. So this means you actually could drive in pouring rain. It's probably not a good idea, but you can do it if you want to, but you probably will hurt yourself. But you still have the option if you want to. The reason you can convert pretty much every available skateboard out there with the help of the Mellow Drive into an electric skateboard is that they are using a hub motor. Since the motor is integrated into the rear wheels, you don't have to fiddle around with any kind of belt motors or whatnot. Another cool thing about hub motors is that they don't need as much maintenance as a belt motor needs, since you don't have a belt that gets worn off over time. So it's pretty much fire and forget, and you can focus more on riding. In my opinion, one of the biggest advantages with the hub motor is actually that you don't have this hissing, buzzing, high frequency sound that a belt motor has. So when you're riding the Mellow Drive, it's pretty much like riding a normal skateboard. Sure, you can hear a bit of the motor, but most of your driving sound is actually the board itself. So it's pretty much like driving an electric car. You can hear the wheels, but you don't hear the engine. This means you are way silenter when you're on the street, and maybe you don't get too much attention through it, but still people will notice that you are on an electric skateboard. So if I have to compare the Mellow Cruiser board and the Mellow Longboard, the biggest difference is the weight. I drove the Longboard, and to be honest, it was not my favorite. I'm not too much into longboards. Longboards for my taste are too heavy and you have to carry them way too high. With a cruiser board, it's maybe half the weight and it's way easier to carry. You don't have to pull them up in order to carry them around, and they are way agiler if you have to get quickly around a city, and especially for a photographer who has to cover a lot of ground in a short time, it's sometimes better to have a little travel companion that gets you quickly from A to B, and you don't have to focus on where's my car, where did I put my bike, and who stole my bike. Having a skateboard, in my opinion, is way better if you are exploring a city. And also, if you're riding a skateboard, you are more focused on your environment. You're not focused that much on traffic and people as you would be if you're driving a car, for example. In the time I had the boards, I noticed that I pretty much didn't use my car anymore, since with 15 kilometers, you can pretty much carry out almost all your errands you have to do. If you're living in a big urban area, of course. If you're living somewhere outside in a suburban area, maybe 15 kilometers isn't enough, but well, who cares? Throw in a second battery into your backpack, and if it's depleted, switch out the battery. It's like 30 seconds and you're good to go. And you don't need to carry around all the extra weight if you don't need the extra mileage. Another thing I really like about Mellow is the way they interact with their customers and with their community. So I had the chance to meet some of their customer service guys, and if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always reach out to them if you have any issues with your boards. And with products, stuff like this happens, and they're always happy to help. And with that said, if you want to get yourself an electric skateboard and you already checked out Evolve skateboards and Boosted board, trust me, you will be surprised when you check out the Mellow board design and how it works. So go over to their website, I linked them down below, and check them out and say hi from me. So what do you think about the Mellow Drive? Does it give you more flexibility and options when it comes to electric skateboard solutions? How do you like the different kind of wheels? And what do you think about their stock boards? Would you rather go for a completely different setup? Hit me up in the comments and tell me what you think about their solutions. Also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure to hit the bell in order to get notified whenever I put up new content. And trust me, this week will be packed with new content since I'm getting the Mavic Pro 2 and I will visit the IFA 2018, so there will be a lot of news. So thanks again for watching and I see you the next time.